So how do you create a brand that truly represents who you are and the products you sell, as well as building a business that you can scale online? That is what this podcast will help you do. My name is Henry Kaminski Jr., and welcome to the Brand Doctor Podcast.
Let me just make this statement loud and clear. Jersey's here, Jersey's here.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another Brand Doctor Podcast episode. Today, we're going to be talking about coaching. And for those folks that think coaching is a scam, is coaching really a scam? So today's featured guest is JT Foxx. What is going on, my man?
You know, that bio makes me look at how the world used to be. You ever wonder, I was watching that, people, crowds, pictures, are you in New York? Because I look like New York.
Yeah, I'm right outside. I'm in New Jersey.
Yeah. So, especially in states like yours and mine in Chicago, it's been very different. If we were in Florida, we'd be back to normal. Nothing happened. So just kind of interesting where people live is, and the branding as well. The show's about branding, I think Florida and Texas have done a great job branding themselves. So being, hey, we're open. And as a result, they've taken a large people from New York, New Jersey, Illinois, California. All these states have gone to states like Tennessee. They've gone to Florida. They've gone to Texas. So crazy world. So people can say whatever they want about it, but all three of these states are actually tremendously growing, and the real estate price shows. So the question is, will New York bounce back? And it probably will, but
eventually.
Who knows?
I think eventually. So in New Jersey, I'm part of this email list, and every week we get updates on the state of New Jersey, and they're opening up more and more each week. And Friday is going to be a huge 50% increase in capacity and things like that. So we're our hopes are high. Our hopes are high. Is it going to get back to normal anytime soon? I don't think so, but our hopes are high.
No, it's interesting if you really break it down about, I hear people got the vaccine. They got a little piece of paper. So people are forced that. I had to go to Canada on an emergency basis, and I got a rapid test. And I'm like, I need to show this to the border. And it looked like a Word doc.
No.
You really think about a Word. I'm like, why didn't I even come in I could have just done it myself. And so now I start traveling with these people well, we need a vaccine. What's interesting is you have places like Canada, Australia, New Zealand that have really shut their borders. Mm-hmm. And now a lot of these people, at least in New Zealand, Australia, they don't really want to be vaccinated. What's the point? Mm-hmm. But if you're going to let people in, even if they vaccinate, they can still carry it. So are you going to make tourist quarantine? So there's a lot of unanswered questions, which is crazy about the world, about how we still don't know. There's still a lot of unknown and uncertainty, which I guess as entrepreneurs, we're used to living that. So we're just thinking about that. Thought I'd share with you.
Well, I want to get into, I have three big questions for you. And the first question is, because we've connected on Clubhouse, and I just know you from Clubhouse. I knew you no other than that, right? And I never got a chance to really ask you what exactly you do. So, and I know there's people that are going to watch this and listen to this and aren't sure what exactly you do. So I wanted to start, the first question is, what does JT Foxx do for business?
Well, I started in real estate. That's how I first started when I came from Canada to the United States with $974. And so, I made my first million in real estate within a year of being actually in America. And I became a millionaire at 24, multi-millionaire at 25, 10 million by the time I was 28. And then I started a radio show that was based in Chicago. And I ended up self-syndicating all across the US in many markets like KBC in LA, and then Canada and all different places. So I sort of kind of built my little empire like that. And then I started involved in speaking. So I started speaking because I had made 10 million in real estate. So I'm like, well, let me show people. And, ironically, I inadvertently by accident started coaching people, because coaching wasn't very big when I first started. And then I started taking over businesses, getting involved, brands all over the world. We're in 54 countries. We have clients in 104, and pretty much build a global empire. And now I invest in a ton of stuff. I'm on boards of tech companies. So I kind of do a lot of different things. I kind of do it all. So I have so many different companies, so many different brands. And I was just at a meeting this morning. I was like, I have so many things that I'm not in it anymore. I'd be like, here's what it is. They kind of run themselves. They make money. They make a lot of money. And you're thinking about like, okay, what do I do next? I did such a good job creating a business where you don't work in your business, you work on your businesses, and you have great people, and they kind of work. And some of them are working well, but could work better. But we're dealing with COVID, because my life prior to this is I was on the road 324 days a year, a different country almost every day. And it became like this place where you go in and you land in your country you've never been to, like Kuwait or Oman or Israel or China, let's say. And then you go in and you don't know how they're going to receive you. And there was that edge that you had. And now, like the pandemic, so now I've been at home nonstop. So manage a lot of my investments, my businesses, my private equity, because I have a private equity. So it's kind of an autopilot. I think my whole life had immediate gratification. You speak, and then at lunch you have meetings, you maybe media. It's like everything was like structured. Then rush to the airport, get in late, start all over, and sometimes go 7 days in a row. Sometimes 6 days, and Sunday was kind of like crash and then finish up the work. Like there was a routine that was established, and I was pretty good handling it. And then the last like month, I'd be like, because it's a year. I mean, my last event was Arnold Schwarzenegger, 5,000 people, big stages, Edmonton, Canada. And I have been on a stage since. I just a couple of days ago went to my first hotel room because I had to go for emergency basis in Canada. It was my first time in a hotel room. And I realized how crappy the baths are. Like it just brought about, it was just interesting. And I think we took it for granted. So I have so many opportunities. I mean, I've had so many deals come out of Clubhouse and all these different types of opportunities. But that's also been a time drain there too. So the club is going to be like, okay, we're back. We got human element. But I also deal with the element of haters and non-believers and people pointing fingers.
And GT, I want to get into that because I've done a little research prior to this call and prior to this show. And the perception out there is that your coaching is a scam. So what's creating?
Is it mine or coaching in general?
Your coaching. So what's creating that perception?
Well, but it's not the perception. I mean, here's the thing too. I'm the highest paid business coach in the world. So, right. And so no one can do what you do. If you actually listen to me on Clubhouse, no one gives the advice that I give as quickly as advice. So what it is because I had a massive following, 150,000 people, quicker than anybody else almost, you became the target. And you became the target of an industry. There's a lot of people who've never done anything that are coaching. I said to you, I started coaching when I made my first 10 million in real estate. That's how I first started coaching. So I think after making 10 million, and by the way, I'm a byproduct. I bought the coaching before, and it was actually very good, to be honest with you. My first coaching was not good. But if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be where I am here today. I am the only person on this planet who has recorded every coaching session from broke to where I am today. People can go to millionaireflix.com. They can listen. They get everything for $20. Like you can actually listen to me 10 years ago to where I am today. Every failure, every company, every decision, every expansion, every hire, every fire. So I've documented it. So people use that term so then I'd say, okay, what specifically is it a scam? Like what specifically? And that's we just use the word like, oh, it's a scam. It's a fraud. No, you're a fraud. You're a scam because whoever's trying to bring you down is below you. Have you ever had a coach? Probably not. If you had, how much did you pay? But here's the problem. There's a lot of people on Clubhouse selling coaching. And I gave advice and I sold no one-on-one coaching with me. Zero. In fact, I was offered live. People like, I'll give you 40 grand, 15 minutes a month, once a month. And I turned it down. And then people would then message these people like in DMs behind and trying to sell them their coaching. And so I sort of became the poster child for what everybody else was doing, which I don't care what people do. That's their own business. It's like, why can't you sell? What's wrong with selling? If someone wants the product and services, people are supposed to be free and give no advice. So it's like walking in Apple store. Can I help you with anything? Would you like to buy an iPhone? How dare you? How dare you try to sell me? You know what I mean? Like, so I'm sort of because of my following, I'm polarizing. I'm straightforward. I don't BS. I call it how it is. We had this lady just yesterday. I hadn't been on for 6 days. I got on and she says, I got a coach. I paid $3,000 because they were on your rooms, right? But I don't know who's who. And I said, great. What? She goes, she lit a fire. I'm so excited. Coaching's great. And I said to her, okay, what did the coach tell you? Well, he told me to spend more time on Clubhouse and he told me to find a manufacturer. He said I needed to do research. there was nothing groundbreaking about what this person says. A great coach would be like, first of all, is this a viable idea before we start? And if it's not, we need to find something else as well. So there's a difference in that as well. I've had 9 coaches. I spent over $3 million in coaches. It's documented, right? $3 million in coaches. And I still pay for 4 right now. So how is that a scam? So I think there's this notion that it's a scam because people can't do the things that they do. And as a result, I'm the bad guy. So which is fine. I mean, it's always been like that as well. But you forget I've got over 26,000 clients in 104 countries, right? So what we did is we took a few people out of context, but they don't take a look at the magazine covers. They don't take a look at all the different countries. They don't take a look at who I do events and who I do business with. So we live in a cancel culture where if someone's doing better than you, they want to cancel you. So that's kind of where it's at. So I don't think they said my coaching is a scam. They just said coaching is a scam. I just happen to be the biggest name out there, which ironically, no one says Tony Robbins coaching is a scam because it's Tony Robbins. And I guess some people do say Tony Robbins is a scam, but they're not more successful than Tony. They're not more successful than me. And I didn't just do it in coaching. I made my real estate, business, so many different industries, fashion. I mean, like there's a JT Foxx tie right here. Like I'm wearing a JT Foxx tie right there. You see what I mean? This is a JT Foxx suit. Like I have so many different businesses, but I don't share everything I do because you know what happens? People would then try to attack those companies. Can you just imagine they're just trying to attack me in this? And so it's crazy how the world has been. Rather than live in a world of positivity, we want to point the finger. We want to cancel people. We want to assume the worst. And like, for example, it's like, JT got sued. All right, here's the lawsuit. He took advantage of this old lady. But what you don't know or didn't report is that I won the lawsuit. I won court fees, right? And the judge said this should never happen. But what we do is we want to focus on the allegation because if someone doesn't like you, it doesn't matter what you say. They want to say you're the bad person, right? And then when you show them the proof, they just move on to something else. So I've reached out to a lot of negative people, a lot of haters, and I say, hey, is there a problem with me? I'd love to talk to you. Not one of them responded. And I know they saw it. It says seen because they can't say it to my face, right? They can't say it to my face. So they hide behind freedom of speech or they find behind a character of a cat. And so here's the bottom line. The problem with negative people, they have a problem for every solution you come up with.
Yeah. Interesting. So I have another question because I'm the brand doctor and I pay very close attention to brand identity and brand messaging. And when I was going to your official site, if you will, I noticed a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Don't take this the wrong way. But I looked at it and everything looked like a funnel. And, I think funnels get a bad name. I really do think they get a bad name because I went on a show not too long ago and I was brought to the show as a funnel guy, as a funnel expert to talk about funnels. And people were throwing pitchforks at me saying that funnels are a scam and, this guy, Henry, and I was like, whoa, wait a second, guys. Are funnels a scam or are the people that are running them a scam? I'm not calling you a scam, but when I went to your website, I saw a brand identity. And it looked the funnels looked very ClickFunnels-y, and I could see where people were like, oh, this identity.
All right, here's what I say. All right, tell me what was funnily about it. Because when you log in, there's like sign up to get updates from JT. So people want updates on events or products and stuff like that. There's a link. But there's a link. If people want to buy my book, there's a link to buy my book, not a funnel. If they want to send me deals, there's a link to do that. If they want to get involved in my private equity, there's a link there. So I don't see anything.
Let me reframe the question. Have you considered rebranding in an effort to change this perception of you?
I mean, I have a 9-figure net worth. So why would I here's the thing, what worked for me. So I mean, if Elon Musk was telling me right now, should I rebrand? I'd be like, okay, maybe. Right. But I built an empire. I've done more than what most people have done. So here's the thing. It works. It converts. It gets me a lot of businesses. And I don't know, like the first picture on the page is me speaking to 10,000 people. And I did, over $2 million in a 60-minute speech. Yeah. So I don't know, like, here's the thing too. I don't think I need a rebrand. I am who I am and it works. I attract some of the biggest names in the world. I have people like, Pacino, Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Julia Roberts. Like these are all people that I've known or met or have done business with. I attract a lot of money to do deals. I'm partners with billionaires, so clearly it works for them. So who am I pleasing to? And I think the problem is that I think people ought to focus on their own brand. Like, here's my brand. Like, if you say to me, JT, should you consider changing your brand? Did you buy my book? Did you buy my product? Did you prevent it from buying something? That's a different conversation. Then other than that, it's opinion. And everybody's entitled to their own opinion. It's not entitled to make up their own facts about that as well. But I get criticized. I remember I was on stage and people were like, I do slides and I would strongly recommend you do slides a lot better. And I'm like, are you a millionaire? And I said, no. Then why would I take advice from you? Because clearly your slides haven't made you a millionaire. So everybody's a critic. Everybody wants to evaluate other people. And I have coaches for them. So I don't take advice from anybody who makes less money than me. I bounce everything off my coaches. I have 4. And, and by the way, all of them, I mean, I've had them for a long time, except one of my newer ones. And now we do business together. So I tend to attract a higher level quality clients. Like I don't attract to get rich quick. I don't believe in that. I have a very high net worth, but you'll never see me show my cars or houses. Like sometimes you show their houses, I'm like, God, my house is 3 times bigger than that. But it doesn't matter because I think it's more about showing what you can do for the client. And my philosophy, if Jeff Bezos and Warren Buffett or Bill Gates don't show their wealth, why would I show their wealth? And here's the point. Being a top speaker in the world, being a top coach in the world doesn't impress anybody. And I think you'll come to the same agreement with me that being a coach, Oliver, is extremely important and the most important thing in my life. For a lot of people, it's, but if I hired a consultant from Accenture, then that would be okay, which they do the same thing, right? They hire a consultant, except what they do is they bill a lot and they have all these reports and nobody really reads them, right? But that's what a consultant. So consultant coach is the same thing. Consultant is more corporate. Coaches is for more individuals. And I think it got a bad name because there are a few other people. Like I don't use ClickFunnels. It's not my thing. I don't display, look, I did 2 commas or did that. I don't do any of that stuff. What I basically do is I focus on more higher end clients and I don't work with the masses anymore. And so it's frustrating. So that's kind of the dilemma that I've been going through as well, which is very hard because no matter what you do, people see you in a light. But on one hand, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have met the most amazing people in the world. I wouldn't have been in all these other countries. Like what point would there be in 54 countries to do business if you don't speak, right? I got a chance to go to Kuwait, which I thought was cool, Bahrain, China, Japan, like to go in these countries and to be able to change lives. Because if you take care of your clients will take care of your profits in your bank account. And because I've taken care of them, they had me. And I've had longevity in this business, right? 10 years later, I'm still around. I could name you 10 names, 15 names, 20 names that they used to be and they're not because they never reinvented. They never got coaching themselves.
Adapted.
Their product and services was up to par. We under-promise and over-deliver. We provide our clients an experience, which is why we're still around.
I love it. There's some great comments coming in live. And I wanted to point out a couple of things just to what you were saying. Bob Bonnell says, why does the net worth provide the value measurement? Couldn't a shift the perception about him actually increase his reach and value no matter what he's worth?
No, because we take a look at when people are very successful, it changes the narrative because there's a proven track record, right? So there's a lot of people who give opinions, but what if they're not successful, right? Would you take advice on okay, wow, there's a basketball coach who gives you basketball and he's a good coach and he gives good advice. But would you rather take advice from Phil Jackson, who won 11 championships, who coached Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and Shaq? I think that's what it comes down to, right? Bill Belichick is a great coach. And so I think we want to learn from people who've gone down that road.
Okay.
Right. And I think that's very, very important. For example, all of my coaches are worth over $400 million. Like they've all legitimately built an empire. and so to me, I want to learn from people that have gone where I've gone. Right. So I think that's why that's that perceived value of that. If Elon Musk, like, it's ironic, like Elon Musk says, buy this coin, Dogecoin, and everybody buys it. I mean, it's ridiculous, but everybody does. Right. And that's the power that success in the celebrity. I mean, how many times people look up to celebrities? I know a lot of celebrities. I mean, some of them are like, what? Right. And so or influencers now, influencers are the new, wow, they're influencers. Now, you may not agree with it if you're watching this, but there's a hell of a lot of people that do, because these people are getting paid a lot. So we live in an influencer culture, we live in a celebrity culture, and we live in a credibility, which is why everybody is showing their Lambos as part of their brand and their houses and flashing watches and things like that, which, by the way, I have never done. In fact, I keep telling people there is no such thing as get rich quick. It's impossible, right? It's suffering. It's going to be painful. It's going to be agonizing, but the result at the end will be good, but you never lose a life until you quit. So that's kind of like the perspective of that as well. But now you have all these people like, yeah, you can be a coach and you have your own mastermind. 5 broke people get together in a mastermind doesn't make it a mastermind, right? So broke plus broke plus broke equals broke. Broke plus broke equals broker. So my point is that there's this notion that I tell people I want to write a book and it's going to make me famous. No, that's not going to be the way. That's not how it works, right? You become successful, then you write the book. You don't write the book before you become successful about success. Right. And now because what happens is everybody wants to create their own product. Right. I mean, people maybe know a little bit about branding, and because they have a good looking cover and they have good pictures, some Photoshop, everyone can be an expert. Right. So you're the brand doctor, and someone say, like, if I was to say and turn around to you on stuff like that, well, you're the brand doctor. I think that word is gimmicky. Right. So you say it's fun. I think the word doctor is very gimmicky because that's not what it's associated. Now, people say it makes me memorable, but if I was to approach people that are worth 10 million, 100 million, be like, what do you think or billion? What do you think about something he calls a brand doctor? Like, what is that? Right. So it works for you. Right. And you don't care. But when my people said to me, you sure you want to go on this show, JT? The guy calls himself the brand doctor. It's just like people call himself the queen of real estate. I don't know. Did Jeff Bezos ever proclaim the king of e-commerce? Right. So that could be more gimmicky than what I do, but it works for you. And if you're happy with it and you have your clients, then that's okay. Right. But if I was coaching you, I would probably tell you that because I don't think you need it. But you might say, yeah, I've had it for a long time. That's how I'm known. I'd be like, great. So, but if someone who hadn't achieved any success said to you, I don't think it's a good name, you'd be like, yeah, okay, thank you. Right.
Well, because then you have people. Bob's saying, hold on. Bob's saying that he's got, and I know Bob personally. He's in a creative group that I met him through, and he's got a shelf full of Emmys. I mean, the guy's worked with GM, he's worked with Metallica, he's worked with Disney. But you're associating his success to his net worth.
Well, okay, but the better you are at what you do, the more money you make. So I can go over people like Billy Gerber, which I'm sure he knows in the industry. He's a 7-figure. You have Katzenberg, you have Spielberg. So my question to Bob is, if he had all this success, he hasn't done a good job monetizing his success. If he has all these track record, he is not being paid his worth. He's the guy that'd be playing for the major leagues, getting big major league money, but maybe he's stuck with a lower team and hasn't been noticed yet. So yeah, he may be successful at his done, but his pay doesn't compensate. And in the businesses he's in, the better you are what you do, the more you get paid. So that's right. So it's like saying I'm a phenomenal player, but I'm not getting my worth. And then once in a while, there are bad players who get paid a lot of money, but eventually they get discovered. Just kind of like Clubhouse, right? Anybody can fake an Instagram, little 2-minute clip, highly edited, but you can't fake it when he has tons of experience. He has credibility. Now, does Bob not know how to negotiate, right? Is Bob basically, when someone says, this is what we're going to pay you, he takes the job because he takes for the certainty? Is Bob not taking enough risk? Did Bob not put his foot down and say, listen, I'm $1 million to do this, stuff like that. I've done it, right? And so maybe Bob is too nice. So that's my point. So with his accomplishment, he said, I'm saying Bob is underpaid because there are people that make way more money than him have accomplished 1/10 of what he's accomplished. And that's where coaching would come in to find out why is that not the case, right? And not knowing Bob, but I bet you Bob is more of the creative type person, right? He just wants to create, right? He's more like a Wozniak. I'm more of a Jobs. So, either Bob needs a better agent to fight for him if he has an agent, or he needs to go out there and turn his weakness into a strength and get paid his worth. And there's a lot of people in companies that never go and ask for a raise or anything like that, like because they're afraid of hearing no, they're afraid of confrontation, they're afraid of losing their job because of that. But I believe, and then there are people who do a horrible job who expect to get paid more. So, and also sometimes you have to be willing to lose the deal or the opportunity to get paid what you're worth.
Excellent. Okay. Fair enough. I'm just looking through. There's a bunch of questions here. I'm just trying to get to as many as I can with 8 minutes left on the clock. You know,
I could stretch another 15 if you wish. It answers the question.
There's a question here from Michael Sanchez. And he's saying so. The question is this. It's up on the screen.
Oh, I know who that guy is.
Did he change his legal name from Justin to JT before or after?
Okay, so all right, so here's the thing. Obviously, Michael has been saying a lot of bad things. Yeah, I changed my name in 2002. Okay, so let's get that very clear. While I was in Canada in my last year of university. Okay, so this is the problem with the internet. Everybody just passes rumors like that. And by the way, I left from Canada to the United States with no money. So let's be very clear with that. And I changed my name because of something my parents did to me, right? And I did not want to be associated with that, right? How it made me feel. And by the way, I never knew I'd be famous. I never knew I'd be successful. Okay. But people like Michael and other people, right, have spurred this. And this is a perfect example of someone put a rumor out there and there's no fact basis about there. And then it blows up. And then I have to answer the rumor. Just like someone said, JT, are you a Scientologist? I got asked like 10 times, like, no, I'm not a Scientologist. Right. But now everybody keeps asking me if I'm a Scientologist. And even if I was a Scientologist, who cares? If someone believes in something, who am I to decide who to believe? I was Catholic. I went to Jesuit school, right? People are like, oh, Scientology. I'm like, I don't care if someone's Scientology. I don't care if they don't believe in God. I don't care in any of these things. But here's the thing too. Like the rumors, I had all these. I had been sued 4 times in 10 years of business at the size of my business. And I've sued 6 times. And by the way, I've won everything. So the problem is that I think it's the fact I've only been sued 4 times is actually pretty impressive considering the amount of business that I do on a global scale and how big my businesses are. So, but here's the problem. Someone like Michael is not going to say, oh, I'm sorry I said that. I'm sorry that was protrude. I was wrong. He'll just jump on to the next thing that he's going to try. And that's the problem, right? I think Michael even blocked me on Clubhouse, right? And so, which by the way, here's the culture. You blocking someone to go somewhere. You've never met them. I've never had a conversation. But if I remember correctly, Michael is a consultant selling TikTok services, right? So coaching is bad, but he does the very thing I get accused for. But here's the difference. In his profile, it says consultant TikTok. He is selling TikTok services. I'm not, right? So I've just been giving value. Now, a lot of people have been selling, but I haven't. I haven't said, I'll charge you one-on-one coaching. I haven't. I don't think I've ever mentioned, except for one time, a link, because someone said, what's your link of your book? I'm like, Millionaire Underdog, right? .com. That's what I said. So, right. And by the way, I don't know if I had a conversation with Michael separately offline here. After the conversation, would he say, you know what, JT, you're actually not a bad guy, right? You're actually a good guy. But then the problem is that he would have to admit that the campaign of hate and smear against me was wrong all along. And I'm actually a good guy. And that would require for him to say, I am wrong. Right? And I shouldn't have done that. But the problem is that once we go down that road, then we kind of get sucked in. So that's my problem. And by the way, I've reached out, like I said, to many people. I hadn't reached out to Michael, but I reached out to many other people like him. It didn't make a difference. They don't respond, right? Because here's the thing. They don't want to have the conversation, which is fine. I mean, it's the way the world are, but we point the finger at everybody else, but sometimes we have 3 fingers pointing back at you. So here's the problem. The age of the internet where rumors get spread or reputations get defamed and stuff like that. I mean, I realize it's part of the game, but when it's blatantly not true, right? Blatantly not true. And you parade things after I even cleared them up, right? Like this rumor will continue to fester, right? It's like the question, like, did you beat your wife? No, I never did. Like that's that question. So there's an allegement that there must be something. So, and by the way, the world, if you haven't been sued, you haven't been enough business apparently. Well, I must have not done a lot of business because I've only had 4 lawsuits. And by the way, 3 of them were 7, 8, 9 years ago. So, but that's kind of like the world. So and by the way, I was very upfront with that. And by the way, Tony Robbins changed his name. Tom Cruise changed his name. So what? Right? So for me,
Nicolas Cage changed his name too, right?
Everyone did in Hollywood, right? Only a few people have their names, stuff like that. If you actually like Google celebrities that changed their names, the list is insanely long. But no one ever attacks. But for me, for some reason, it gets got like that. Like somehow I'm hiding something from the past. It's like, that's crazy. By the way, that was like a year and a half before I even moved to America.
Interesting. Okay, this is the question that I was looking for. Joshua Easter, if you could do one thing that you aren't currently doing, what would it be?
Yeah, that's a good question. I have so many businesses in so many different markets, right? And so many different verticals. And I've been thinking a lot in the past 2 months. Would I be better off having put 100% of my effort into what I'm doing now? And would I be like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos? And it's not about the money, about like, look what I built. But instead, I kind of did the Richard Branson thing. But Richard Branson has a lot of licensing deals, but he did have one big thing, like the airline, right? So that was a big thing. And so I have big things, but not huge things. And so I've been thinking and the problem is that would I be happy just doing one thing? Because I suffer from ADD. I'm always kind of like trying to change what I'm doing. So you always have that. So I don't know if I would do, like, if I had to do that, like, would I be happy just doing one thing? But looking back, it would probably, I don't know. That's the debate. So somebody would say, compared to most people, are you happy or successful? I'm like, yeah, I guess. But compared to Elon Musk, I've done nothing, right? The man is sending people in space. The man is revolutionary the car. And you have to really remember about Elon Musk. I mean, he almost lost the company twice, right? Like he was at the brink twice and almost sold to Google, but the stock price went up like a week and a half later, and that kind of saved him a little bit. He was willing to go all on the line to like go big or go home. To me, I've taken very calculated risk. And maybe because partly is the reason is, let's say I went all in and it didn't work out. Then I got every hater in the world say, see, aha, I told you. You see what I mean? So there's that we're living in a world where like people are just waiting to say, aha, I knew it. And maybe that's what's been stopping. I don't know. I figure that's part of it too. So, and also too, I like doing a lot of different things, but that would be the big thing. And I think now, especially on Clubhouse, everybody's a serial entrepreneur. I got 3 businesses, but none of them are really making money. Multiple streams of income with no water going through. It doesn't work.
Okay, here's a good question from Michael. If you could have a 1-on-1 hour conversation on Clubhouse, just you two on stage with an audience, who would it be and why?
If I could have a 1-on-1 on Clubhouse with an audience, who would it be? Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, or the Dalai Lama. Okay. So those would be. I interviewed Terry Crews, which was on Clubhouse, which was great. I interviewed Vanilla Ice, which was great. I interviewed who did I interview? Mark Randolph from Netflix. That was really good. Yep. But I'd have a conversation with these people anywhere. But those are really hard to get. Those are really, really hard to get. Because I always like asking questions to people that like I want to know. I think that's what makes a good interview, right? You ask questions for people that you want to know, the curiosity. Like even like one of my haters on Clubhouse, I even admitted that I liked his book. I recommended his book. I thought it was a great book, right? So like, and by the way, I had messaged that person many, many months ago. I'm like, by the way, I recommend your book. It's one of the great books. I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot, like, because I read a lot. So, but sometimes, as we know, like I've met sometimes, you meet celebrities, you have this image of them and you go backstage and you're like, wow, completely different. That kind of happens there a lot. But the problem with Clubhouse is it's a collaborative thing, unless you're like a massive following of over 1 million, where it's just you, where it's got a crowd. If you don't have people come on your stage, then, they'll just go to another stage as well. So it's very interesting. I mean, and also the people that have popped into Clubhouse, Paris Hilton's popped in. You had, John Laguerre, former T-Mobile, pop in all the time. And that's the great power of those connections. But it would be interesting if there'd be only people on stage. I figure that the audience would stay, but a lot of people who are normally on stage moderate with the following, they just go with the following. And that's kind of the problem with Clubhouse, right? They're driven by the number of followers, right? And there's some people who don't care. They'll be like, they come in and out, but there are people that are driven by the followers. And there's a lot of people, like, if you start off and you start from zero. And I think that's part of the problem. You really have to put work to build a brand and to give value. And the more value you give, the more followers you have. But in the end, it's very toxic. It's very, very toxic. It's a mental drain.
I don't get the vanity metrics of the follower count. I had people say to me, you should get your numbers up a little bit. I don't know what that means, because I create my own rooms in Clubhouse, and I have a great conversation with great people that ask great questions. And there's maybe 100 people. We've gotten some big rooms. I've gotten some big rooms in the past, but most of the rooms are small and they're intimate. And I heard you say once, people aren't interested in those small rooms. They fly right past them. But that's where I've had the deepest conversations with people.
No, it is, but it's an ego thing. That's the problem. It's an ego. It's an ego metric, and people are, and it's a shame. For example, like I'm just looking at Michael, for example, right? He's got 33,000 followers, right? But when he first started, he probably was one of those things that he had to listen to people with no experience or little experience, and he has to sit there and listen to someone who doesn't have his experience talking about something he knows very well, but he has to pretend like he's asking a question. And then he's like, how is this person more? Because unfortunately in Clubhouse, the higher followers you have, the higher authority you have, perceived value. And we know that's not the case.
No.
Right. And so a lot of people are mistaking the number of followers for credibility. And so it's got to be very, very hard. Like, for example, if somebody talk about branding, I've heard it, and you're the expert in it, and you're probably like rolling your eyes. And I've actually called people out and say, that's wrong advice, but it creates dissension, right? And then it's like, it's not worth it. So I created my own room. I'd be like, I'm going to tell you no BS how it is, straightforward, whatever to your face, I will tell you. Like, if I have a problem, in a way to me, like in an entertaining way, to be able to say, you want hard, medium, or soft. Like, I'm going to be so hard, push you because when you go in the real world, because if I can expose you here, then you can fix whatever. When you're in the real world, you can crush it. And, a lot of people lie about their numbers. A lot of people lie about their accomplishments, because it's a clout thing. So I don't know if that's healthy. And also too, creators like myself or Michael or whoever, stuff like that. I don't know how much time he spends on it. After a while, you answer the same questions and you lose that drive to do so. So I actually respect you more the way you're handling it. You're like, I'm going to come in, I'm going to add value, and I'm going to leave. So there's a gamification of that as well. But the worst thing is, once I crossed over 100,000 on Clubhouse, I became just a giant target. That was like the worst thing. And I remember saying, like, once you make the 100,000 plus club, you just have a giant target. A giant target. So, which is like anything, right? I mean, the higher you climb up the tree, the more you're exposed.
Yeah, correct. So one more question. If you lost everything you worked for tomorrow, what's the first step in starting over for you?
First of all, you'd have to humble your ego, because you've seen people where they have it all and then they lose it. And it's like you're sitting in first class and all of a sudden you're in the airplane, you're the last row, middle seat near the bathroom. And the whole time you're like, I should be up there. I should be up there, right? And that's this mentality that no, you're not anymore. You used to be. And you have to humble yourself and you have to park your ego, because if not, you'll never make it. And you have to say, okay, why did I lose it all? How do I make sure it doesn't happen again? And you got to use that same drive and fire to go out there and make it happen, which, to be honest, is hard. It's hard because it gets easier as you become more successful. There's no question about that. Opens a lot of doors, opens a lot of branding. So you have to humble yourself. And then you have basically the number one skill you ought to have is selling. If you can sell, you can sell anything, right? So I would go back to kind of like what I did when I had no money, came from Canada, $974, negative 34,000. And I would like go back to real estate. That's what I do in real estate investing, because that's the only business where I made millions without using any of my own money. So, and the funny part about me is like, I don't care about money. Like I stopped caring at 27. Like I still shop at Walmart. Like I'm not kidding you. Like I'll go to Walmart. Like I'm not one into like, you know, and I know it sounds crazy. I just don't like spending money. And be like, what are you going to do with it? I'm like, when I die, it's all going to go to charity. Like that's really, because that's how a lot of my coaches and mentors have set it up. And when I went to Necker Island with Richard Branson, like basically it was, I asked him, why are you going to give like half of your money or almost all your money? Because he goes, my money will have greater impact while I'm gone. And the worst thing you can give to children or anybody is a giant check. Like you worked your butt off and now you give someone $500 million check. That doesn't help. Like they're not going to build towards something, or give it to, and say, I'm going to set up a foundation and you spend the rest of your life giving that money away to who you think is passionate. I think the worst gift you can give is someone a lot of money who didn't work for it. Like you, right? Working, doing this podcast, middle of the day, making things happen. Like, I think that's the worst thing. But when you have no money, it is about the money. There's no question about that too. Like they say money doesn't bring happiness. I'm like, but do you have any? Like says who? Like I've been broke. I wasn't very happy sleeping on the office couch, eating ramen noodles. But once you make it, it doesn't satisfy you. Like it doesn't, like, here's the thing, losing will bother the hell out of me until I win again. And winning will last 5 minutes. And I think a lot of people that are high performers on here have that same feeling. And so you got to find that fire, and you got to humble yourself. And I did that when the pandemic started. I really acted broke. I would like work like 20 hours a day, went back to eating ramen noodles. I actually did, but it's a little hard knowing in the back of your mind, you have this giant blanket of security. So that's why I have this soft spot. Like entrepreneurism is a struggle. I think people underestimate how hard it is to succeed. Like the sacrifice, and I think now with the pandemic, it's more than ever. And even though like I've done extremely well in crypto and all these other industries, it doesn't feel real because there's no one around me. The world has changed, and I miss that world. And I took it for granted. I honestly took the world for granted. And what do I mean by that is, as I became more successful, I would say no. Like, you know how many times in the last 3 years I got invited to a podcast? I said yes, once. One podcast. And you're like, nah, I'm too busy. Nah, I don't want to do it. Nah, no. We were in Prague. Do you want to go to dinner? My last new country was Czech Republic. Do you want to go to dinner? Visit the city. I'm like, nah, I got an early flight, 5 a.m. to Amsterdam. Right. And then you're thinking, and so I went to bed right after the event. It was phenomenal, by the way. And now looking back, I should have said yes. And so when you start off, I said yes to everything. I said yes to everything, which is a big part of my success. And as I became more successful, I started saying no. And when you say no, you don't experience things. You don't meet new people. You don't build relationships. Like you and I are going to know each other. I'm going to invite you on my show. So like I'm just like the type of person that there's 3 JTs. You have JT on stage, funny, entertaining, JT in business, which is very hard, because I'm just so quick. And then there's JT personal. Like I'm human like everybody else.
You married?
Pardon me? I don't discuss my personal life on that.
Okay.
Especially after everything. Like there's zero, people take shots at me, that's fine. But if anyone in my inner circle or stuff like that, I don't want them to get the brunt of JT.
No problem.
But I'm just, at the end of the day, like I'm just, go back. My mother has currently stage 4 cancer. And by the time people watch this, they actually be bad. And I didn't have the greatest relationship, as I admitted before. And I can't go back to Canada because of quarantines. And Saturday, I took a test and I said, I'm going. I headed to the border. I drove rather than fly, because fly, there would have been a lot more. And kind of showed my test and went straight to the hospital. And it was really hard seeing my mom there. And my dad, who was probably going to die within the next 6 months as well. When my mom's gone, and he's got his liver cancer, and you're trying to process everything in the world. And I'm sitting there, and in a way, like, I'm successful because of who I am, of that drive. Like, I did it to prove my parents, look at me, right? Look where I am, right? I did it without you, even though you said didn't believe, like, you know what I mean? And they both believed that they had a big part of my success. And I think, and I sat there, and somebody said, why don't you just tell them how you feel and all that? And I said, I can't do that. Because in their mind, that's what they feel, because I got sisters completely opposite to me. Like, I need to go knowing if they want to go and they'd say, you know what, I'm responsible for JT's success or whatever, I'm okay. You know, I'm okay with that. And it was funny because when I left the hospital, this was like a day and a half ago. And it was like, just thinking about it, just seeing that image. If I had not gone, it would be like, I probably wouldn't have had closure. And my mom says, I hope I see you again. I hope this is not the last time. But it is going to be the last time. And like, I have mixed emotions inside. And I've been dealing with this in the last 7 days on top of all the nonsense on Clubhouse. Right? So that happened the next day. So I had to deal with all that and that. So there's been a lot of emotions on that.
Sure.
Right? So when you have the whole world on top of your shoulders, but that's what people don't see, because they see the business guy. They see the, you know, and people that want to share more of this stuff. But my job is to be the strongest person in the room, right? To carry that load, right? And because that's my personality. That's how I was coached. So in my mind, it's like, it's so easy to quit, especially when you've achieved a lot of success. You know, when you don't have that success yet, you have no choice.
Right.
So it's been that tugging back and forth. So that's all I've been dealing with in the last 5-6 days, going back and replaying my whole life. Like, it was a period that I completely blocked off. I'm like, I'm done with this. I'm moving to America. Okay. New life, new things. And now I have to replay and try and find out, was I wrong? Did I have it better than I thought? Was it as bad as I remember it to be? Right. Was I blinded by youth ignorance? Like, you're playing all that and you start questioning yourself as well, because you face, because I've never faced something like this. I mean, the other person that'll be devastating to me more is my coach, George Ross, celebrity apprentice judge. Been in my life for 10 years. I've bounced off every opinion off of him. And I don't know. And he's 93. Think about it. And he's sharp as a whip. I don't know what's going to happen if, you know what I mean? So on one hand, on a personal level, I'm so empathetic and I care so much about people, but there's this facade, a brand that I am this and that. So, and I think a lot of people here have 3 different personas, and maybe not yet, but as they grow successful, you can't be the same way you are personally in business, because you're going to get slaughtered, right? You're going to get taken advantage of.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Why? What makes that true to you? I have a coach who is very, yes, he's got an edge to him, but he opens up like a book. And I think that's why people love him. And that's why I invested heavily into him, because I saw a lot of him in me and vice versa. And that's how we've been able to grow together. And he's been very influential in my life. So I'm just wondering, JT, if you were to open up, would that show a different side of you and actually be more lucrative to you?
Well, I mean, I'm already the highest paid man in the world for what I do. So it's hard for you to say. And also on the biggest stages, I'm the number 1 platform sales speaker in the world. So when I go on stage and selling a product or whatever, like, I've made it, you understand? So, and I attract a high level client because I've been on stage with people making people cry and getting a standing ovation, but they never got the sale. People don't want to buy a product or a service from people that have more problems than them. Right? They're buying what they can become. They want to look up. So if you say that I'm just like you, and this is from a branding and marketing perspective, right? It's the power, the tie, the power suit, right? I if wear a polo shirt. I mean, one time my bag was the only time in my life that my bag didn't make it, and I checked the bag. I never did after that. I showed up and I was in my t-shirts and jeans and stuff like that. It was one of the worst. Same speech, did horrible, because there's not that this is what I deal with. And also partner with billionaires. So it's not like I partner with very successful people, and these people don't want to open up. And we have like business discussions, very deep one about the market, the political business, but nobody wants to hear about my problems because you have problems. People watching here, we all have problems.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying dump your trauma dump on people. I'm saying show a more personal side. It's two different things.
Yeah, but here's the thing too. People are not buying my personal side. They're buying what I've accomplished, and they want to get a shortcut to what I accomplished, right? I'm not selling, life coaching, right? I'm not selling relationship coaching, right? So, and by the way, that's only now a small part of my business. So, I mean, it's different for everybody. Of course, it's different for everybody. But, and by the way, I don't even know why I did that. It opened up on your show. I guess because there's probably a lot of people that are watching that show and people who don't like me, right? And maybe that changed their mind. Maybe it did not. I don't know. But I am who I am. And my brand, speaking of brand, has always been, I'm a no BS type of guy. Mm-hmm. I say it how it is, right? If I think there's a problem, I'll tell people. If I think someone's doing something wrong, or if I think they're bullshitting, I will call them out. That's who my brand is, like the Simon Cowell. But sometimes people, like, I can't tell you how many times on Clubhouse, I coach people. I found they were lying, right? And by the way, that we caught them on the lie. They denied the lie. We caught them on the lie, but then we gave them advice on how to fix it. Then they were very happy and thankful. And then 4 days later, they're in another other room saying how I'm like the worst person on the planet. I bullied them, you know what I'm saying? And I have a recording of that whole thing, of how I helped them. Because you know what? It only takes is one person to go to that person and say, you were wrong. He was wrong. Don't listen to him. There could be 99 people that says, you know what? You're an alcoholic. You got to stop it. You're going to ruin your life. And it only takes one person. Don't worry about it. You're not an alcoholic, because we will gravitate to the person who agrees with us. That is the way the society is. And then what we do is then there's people turn around to bullying, cancel, take stuff like that, because they don't want to be a victor. They want to be a victim, because they're getting more attention by being a victim than by being a victor. Because we don't celebrate victors anymore. We celebrate on the way up. And as soon as we want to be up, we want to tear them down. That's America now. Everybody was like, yes, you can do it. No, Canadian guy, moved to America, American now, American dream, right? Man, as soon as I became successful, that was like the hits keep on coming daily.
The pitchforks come out. Interesting. Yeah. It looks like Sam, your assistant, jumped on. I think she's trying to call the we need you, JT. So I will say this. I want to put something up here. Michael said, I will say this. I do have more respect for JT from this call or the one with him on stage with Jason. So I wanted to share that with you, JT.
Yeah, I appreciate it. That's very nice to say. If Michael wants to reach out, I'll gladly have a offline conversation. And ultimately, I mean, listen, if this was worth it, if I changed the mind of one person, and I'm not here to change anybody's mind, by the way, but if I did, and he sees a different light, then it was worth it, because at the end of the day, we all want to be like, we could say we don't care about what people think, right? And there are people who have that superpower. They really could not care less. I mean, if someone says, I don't like your coaching style, okay, I get it. Or I don't like the way you do this. Okay, but when things are not true, then that's hurtful, right? Like a normal human being. So if I have a conversation, I'd gladly get on the phone, or anybody for that matter of fact, because we're all trying to find that peace, that inner peace. Because as you know, Henry, it takes a lifetime to build a brand and 5 minutes to destroy it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So we've seen a lot. It takes, and building a brand is a long time, but man, it can be destroyed so quickly. So I'm glad. I mean, that warms my heart to hear something like that.
I wanted to share that because, I never got a response. I never got a response to a show prior to doing it like this one. And there was a lot of mixed feelings. And I was like, well, this is going to be a good episode then to get the answers to the questions that are being asked. And so I'm happy that you took the time today and shared everything with us that you shared. And I think you made some valuable points. I may or may not disagree with I may or may not disagree with or agree with all of them. But to your point, I think you have a strong opinion, and I appreciate that and I value that. And it clearly has gotten you to the position in your life that you're at right now. And so it's awesome stuff.
Did people actually tell you that you should have me on?
No, there was a few people that said, have you done your homework on him? And I said, very little. And they said, well, you should before the show. And then you determine whether or not you want him on the show. And I did my homework on Sunday. I spent a couple hours on you. And I said, we're doing a show.
The argument about this is that, like, if you actually knew the backstory where some of that stuff come in, it would make sense. I don't want to bring it to light because it just will fuel the people that did
Forget it.
But my point was this. Here's my point. If anything, you would want to do that interview from entertainment purposes because you have the exclusive. And that's what people don't understand. Like, then you could, I think here's the thing too. I honestly think that when you deal with people, like when I a quick story, Vanilla Ice, right? Mm-hmm. And I had just had Pacino Stallone in my events, and I didn't think I could do any better because I had both at the same time. And I'm like, I'm not going to do any more celebrities. And at the end, I'm like, I like to end with a surprise. So let's try and get Vanilla Ice. I was a big fan of Ice Ice Baby, right? And my people are like, oh yeah, he got arrested for this. And I heard he's this, he's an a-hole, right? And I remember saying, it's Vanilla Ice. I just want to sing Ice Ice Baby. You know what I mean? Interview. I met the guy, and I've met a lot of people in my life. And I think he's one of the top 5 nicest person I've ever met. Like, so giving. And then when I asked him about, like, what happened with the arrest thing? He goes, yeah, it's a property I own. I didn't own it yet. I had the contract to. We got the air conditioning, and we were trying to get things going. I was going to buy in 3 days, but the thing got dropped, right? And then, or then he was like, oh yeah, Suge Knight trying to, off the balcony. I'm like, did that happen? He goes, no. Here's what really happened. But the story is out there. So I would recommend everybody is that until you've met the person, you sat down with the person, you had a conversation with the person. If after that conversation, you'll say, nah, that person is that, then that I'll be like, I respect that. But when you haven't met, where you read things out of context, like, first of all, happy people do not go online and leave happy reviews. They don't have time. But when people like, a couple of times people like, I want a refund for this, let's say, right? But you're not entitled. It's 2 years later. And by the way, you send me an email saying how great you are. So what we do is let's go online and let's trash, because that's how they frustrate their anger, right? Also, a lot of times, as you know, a lot of competitors will put fake stuff about other people to try, because that's what, it happens all the time. So, and then it's a game of whack-a-mole, right? And then if you put up positive reviews up, they'll be like, oh, you're just only doing that. Like, it's a lose-lose situation. 20% of the people will like you no matter what you say. 20% of the people won't like you no matter what you say. And 60% don't know you yet, right? And you're hoping that the 60% doesn't get influenced by the 20%. So.
Yeah. Well, JT, you've always been polite to me. You've always been respectful to me. You've always invited me up when it says JT Foxx invited you up to the stage. You've done that several times to me. And I said, I want to get you on my show to show a little bit of appreciation and thanks for that, and get to know you a little bit better. And I said, I'm not going to judge this person until I meet this man like this, and I can actually have a one-on-one with this guy to see what he's really like. Because like you, I'm a no BS kind of guy too. I come from Jersey. I'm a little rough around the edge, but I got to watch my tone sometimes too, especially ask my wife. She'll tell you, I appreciated this conversation today, and I really enjoyed it. And I think we did change some lives today, and we did change some opinions, and we did make some impact. And that's what this show's all about. So I appreciate you. And I know Sam's ready to drag you off the stage here, but I really appreciate your time today. You spent a half an hour extra with us, and I value that. I appreciate that.
I mean, listen, they probably moved my 2 meetings I had because I think it was important to have the conversation. So, okay, and I'm glad I did. It's, they're not, a lot of times we get to answer the same questions over and over. And, I think I am who I am. And I appreciate everybody listening. I appreciate all the questions. If you want to shoot me up a message on Instagram or tell me what you think, or or follow me and stuff like that, and have a discussion. And I'm glad I got a chance to meet you, and also thank you for being respectful. Thank you for being respectful, and you also asked me some questions that needed to be answered, so we don't put it under the rug. Will they make a difference over the big picture? Probably not. But like I said, if it makes a difference to people that are here today or whoever watches this, and they can be inspired, and just know that everyone goes through problems. That's always tell people, whatever problems you have, there's someone who has it worse than you, right? That's why I don't want to complain about my problems, because I like, for example, especially with my parents, like I got a chance to see my mom and my dad possibly for the last time. There are people in COVID, they couldn't even go up to the ward. They had to do like goodbye on FaceTime. And I thought about that. While I was like with my mom, I thought about that I was lucky that I got a chance to say goodbye in person, as opposed to people in COVID, they couldn't. And imagine just like you're on a video screen. That just breaks my heart. Like, I don't like suffering. So I don't like hospitals. I don't like to see people in pain. It actually, and the worst is children in pain. That's why I've donated over $1 million, raised over $1 million for St. Jude's Children's Hospital, because children are so innocent, and so, yeah, there's a lot of suffering in the world, especially I've been to Africa like over 100 times, and you see some of the suffering of people. Like I've seen a lot of things. And so I'm very grateful for you. So I just want to complain about problems that I have, because there are people maybe watching this and they have a lot of problems. But here's the thing too. If you never quit, you never lose. And I always tell people success is not a matter of chance. It's a matter of choice. And if you choose, you'll always win.
And we're going to wrap that up right there. That was a perfect ending to a great show. So JT, I appreciate you, man. Thanks again. I'll see you on Clubhouse, and keep doing what you're doing, brother. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'll have you on my show too. I'm looking forward to it.
Hey everyone, this is Henry Kaminski Jr. again. And really quick, I want to invite you to a one-on-one consult with me right now if you're looking for the clarity and focus you need to build your brand. Over the past 13 years, I've served hundreds of entrepreneurs that have great products but struggled tremendously with articulating its value to their ideal customers. You didn't get into business to just change a few lives, did you? Your ideal clients need you. And when your brand has precision-crafted messaging coupled with beautifully thoughtful design that sounds, looks, and feels like you, they'll know you're the perfect match for them. If this is something you're struggling with, what I want you to do right now is pause this audio and go visit www.uniquedesigns with a Z at the end, not an S, .net, and book your one-on-one consult call with me. Remember, the quality of your brand will determine the quality of your clients, and the quality of your clients will determine the quality of your life.